Hey y'all, welcome to another What Else is Going On, aka We Go podcast episode. I'm your girl, your host, Taria. We are getting ready to get into The Real Housewives of Potomac, season 10, episode 9, Leak What You Speak. I didn't necessarily like that title, Leak What You Speak. Who leaking and where? But anyway, we're getting ready to get into that. I must say, I really like Jazzy. I really like Jazzy. I think she's gorgeous. I liked seeing her with the cast. Do y'all think she needs a full-time flute, or should we allow people to stay in the positions that they are when we enjoy them there? Because we know what happens sometimes when we give them full-time flutes or full-time cherry blossoms or full-time peaches, Marlo and Kay. Should we allow them to stay in their friends for a couple seasons? What do y'all think? Speaking of Jazzy, my boo, who he was on the podcast a couple weeks ago, No Chaser TV just did an interview with Jazzy. Y'all go check it out. She is talking, honey. She is not holding back. So shout out to Jazzy. Shout out to my boo, No Chaser TV. Y'all definitely make sure y'all check that interview out. She's very entertaining. All right, let's get into this week's episode, y'all. So we starting out with a continuation of Kay and Stacey arguing. I just was so annoyed because why is Kay getting so amped? That's my thing. It's like it'd be one thing if she wanted to bring it up, but she was like, "You're all lying self, you trifling, you know, you speaking trick trash." Remember Giselle said that about Monique. You talking trick trash and lying. Like she could have said that, but like, why are you getting so amped? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, Cha Sharisi. Is that what Alex, shout out to Alex Rogers? Isn't that what Alex calls her? Or somebody calls her that, but she called Chris because we know from last week, Kay says she was on the phone with Cookie, and Cookie said Chris called her and was like Stacey called him and said Monique was talking trash about him. So Sharice calls Chris. Chris is like, nah, I don't know what y'all talking about. So that should have deaded it, right? Chris himself has said, no, I ain't getting no call. They don't believe. Now, mind you, when Sharice calls Chris, we just had a situation that made Cookie look bad. I said she said that because she knows Chris and Cookie are really good friends, and Chris is not going to want his good friend out here looking bad, right? So, of course, I think she thought Chris was going to be like, oh, yeah, that's true. Chris said, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's just annoying because the ladies don't believe her. Giselle then says Stacey can't be trusted around husbands or children. What does she mean by that? I say, here we go again. You don't know where people could take. Why would you say that? She can't be trusted around husbands or children? We're not going to sit here and act like Giselle hasn't talked about somebody else's husband on camera. And now you talking about Stacey can't be trusted around husband or children. Andy Better asked her at that reunion, what did you mean by that? Because that's not cute or funny. And then Sharice says that her and Stacey were out and they met these guys. And the guy that Stacey liked went to the bathroom, and the other guy said, hey, he's married. And Stacey was basically like, I don't care. She called her a trick, a hoe, or something like that. It's just annoying. They don't believe Stacey because it doesn't fit their narrative. You're not going to believe the person that allegedly told Cookie, hey, Stacey called me and said Monique was trash talking me. You call that person. He says no. But now you don't believe them? It's so old. Anyway, so Greg says hi, and uh, right before that, Greg had said hi, and the ladies had kind of said hi back, but I don't think he heard him. So then Stacey says, this doesn't have anything to do. So Stacey and Wendy are off to the side. Stacey said that this doesn't have anything to do with me. Girl, they had me up against the ropes. Pat me down. Am I okay? So Wendy is wiping Stacey's face. I need some Vaseline to have me against the ropes. I love this duo together. I like when it came to the edible of it all, Wendy went straight to the source. The source kind of came to Wendy. Well, did go to Wendy at her house when they couldn't get that champagne open. They talked about it. Then with the name. Wendy straight up asked her, why Nigerian? They talked about it. They moved on from it. Wendy is determined to enjoy Stacey, and I like that. So they have me cracking up. So Giselle tells Wendy about Angel. And what's funny is she said, yeah, I had Angel all up in my face. I said, see, Angel, I hope when you watch this back, you peep. Giselle ain't checking for you. I keep saying this. Angel wants Giselle to big sis her so bad. Like that's my girl, that's my sis. Giselle's not checking for you. When Giselle said I had Angel all in my face, yeah. So she says Giselle said I had Angel all up in my face. Basically, she got smoke for you, Wendy. Wendy's like, oh, okay, cool. I want the smoke. Where's she at? Angel comes over and says to Wendy, you don't treat me right. And says that she's dismissive and snide like she is right now. Wendy said, I'm being direct. I know people like to say that Wendy is being dismissive, but I'm going to continue to go back to us being at Kay's condo before they went to Preakness. Wendy called Angel out and said, you got smoke for me for laughing and not for Giselle, who said it. Other people agreed. Mind you, this is before Angel went to Giselle in tears. Okay. So, and what did Angel say? She could have different energy. I can. Bet. So Wendy is probably like, I can have different energy with you because I can. I can be dismissive because I can. For Angel to admit that her energy is different with Wendy than Giselle, when Giselle's the one that brought the whole thing up, again, back the day of Preakness, I can. So then Wendy can. I don't want, so to come, see, you can't come to me talking about I'm treating you mean, I'm being dismissive when you let me know, your energy for me is different because you can do that. Cool. Keep that same energy all throughout. I'm with Wendy on this. So anyway, Wendy said, I'm not the one to have a problem with because I don't have an issue with you. It's a one-sided beef. Angel said, here you are being dismissive and gaslighting. Do people know what gaslighting means? Between that and the word narcissism, okay. Anyway, so so then they kind of go back and forth, and Wendy was like, I can tell what you're thinking. Basically, I can see what you're thinking before you say it. I said, are you Wendy? I was cracking up. So Wendy brings up how Tia told her that Angel was upset because they were at the airport and Wendy didn't speak. And I remember thinking that it was Wendy that hugged Angel, but it must have been Stacey because remember they both had that wet and wavy hair. Anyway, Wendy's basically like, you saw me, right? You could have spoke to me. Like it goes both ways. Like stop trying to make it like it's just you're the victim. So then they bring up the word catfish and they say Wendy said it. Kay and Angel say Giselle said it. I mean, Kay and Angel say Wendy said it. Even Stacey's like, so who said catfish? Giselle said, I said it. Kay says to Giselle, did y'all catch? No, you didn't. Girl, she did. Did they address this on the Instagram live that they did? That was so draining. I watched 3 minutes of it. I said, my God, today. Kay and Angel. But they're so determined to have a beef with Wendy, and they're wrong. Anyway, y'all look stupid. Wendy said, instead of you coming for Giselle, it's me you want to come for. Angel says, me and Giselle have had a conversation. And I said, see, that's the thing, though. She approached Giselle with tears. She could have very easily said to Wendy, it hurt my feelings after Giselle said catfish, the way you laughed. That's just me, and it hurt my feelings. I think Wendy would have received that. But instead, you treated her as if she's the only one that brought up the comment. And Wendy's probably, and again, you told her, I can have different energy. And now you mad that she got different energy towards you. I'm with Wendy hands down when it comes to the Angel and Wendy of it all. So anyway, Wendy says, wait, so Angel says, this is just another example of you being dismissive. Wendy said, no, this is another example of you falling flat. I said, my God. This is Wendy's best season, y'all. Why do we got to deal with this court stuff? Okay. Anyway, Angel said, I'm done here. Wendy said, it's so weird. Angel says, no, thank you. Wendy said, you're saying no, thank you as if we want you here. Baby, when I tell you I cracked up, I said, Wendy is like, Shaw. Then Kay comes over. Stacey says, here comes her Siamese twin, piggyback. Eating the girls up. Wendy, so Kay and Stacey are going back and forth. Wendy kind of gets in the middle of them from going back and forth and says, "Can y'all please stop?" So Stacey says, "What do you have to talk about besides me?" Right? Kay says everything. Stacey, I love Stacey how Stacey says, "Give me an example." Kay is like, "Everything, my life, my business, my condo, my man, my things. What do you have going on?" I said, "Now, Kay, you haven't bought that condo. Nothing wrong with renting at all. I rented for years before we bought our house, 20 some years before we bought our house. Nothing wrong with renting." But I have to go back to Kay said in the beginning of the show, she had to show Greg better than she could tell him, and she bought her condo only for Greg, us to hear Greg in a flashback say they're trying to buy Kay's condo. And I maintain that's why Kay was so heated with Jazzy when Jazzy said at the Preakness, "Greg couldn't even buy you a condo. I'd be mad too." Anyway, that makes me think Kay and Jazzy were probably talking, and she's like, "Yeah, Greg is probably trying to get this condo." Because my thought was he can have two mortgages on his, he makes money like that where he can have two mortgages, his house that he had built and a condo. Okay. So Jazzy, I think, had hit a sore spot when she said that. But any reason, my life, my condo, my man, my things, that falls flat to me because Kay, you've been pressed over Stacey and we've seen it. So it doesn't even like it falls really flat. By the way, in regards to renting and buying, side note, I encourage people do what's best for you. Don't listen to somebody all in your ear. You're flushing your money down the toilet renting. For me, if you could, if they said you could live somewhere for free if you have a mortgage, meaning you don't have to pay anything and you decided to rent, then you'd be flushing money down the toilet. Everybody cannot buy. And so to look at somebody and say, you're wasting your money renting when you have to pay to live somewhere, to me, it's kind of like you don't know a person's situation. You don't know if a person, it may sound crazy to some, but everybody doesn't want to own property or own a house. Everybody doesn't want that responsibility. People may can afford the mortgage, but can't afford if something happens to their roof or their floor or their tub. Right now, my husband, thank God Corey is hands on. He's downstairs fixing our dryer for like the second time because baby, what? Had a leak in the ceiling, two different places. It's because a caulking issue. I wouldn't have, I'm learning things as I go, but he recalked and can smooth it out and do all that stuff. Child, when we moved in, something happened with one of our bathrooms and wouldn't flush, didn't know what was going on. Was going to have to call a plumber. They wanted hundreds of dollars an hour, and he went to Home Depot, rented a machine, and was able to like, I think he had to move the toilet or whatever, and knew what to do. So I say that like, if buying a house is not for you right now, don't let nobody pressure you into buying a house. You do what's best for you and your financial situation. Anyway, moving on. So, child, I just felt like I had to say that because that burns me up when people feel like it's everything is not a one size fits all. You got to do what's best for you. So, anyway, okay. So, Kay is acting like she just got so much going on, but yet Stacey, stay in your mouth. Stacey said, "I have a ring and a husband, and you don't." Now, I know people are like, "Stacey, that's not a read. Having a man is not a read." It's not, unless you're the person that wants that. And I think she said that because we know Kay wants to be engaged. Kay said last year she would be engaged by February. If not, it would be a problem. That would have been February of 2024, right? And she's not engaged. They know she wants to be engaged. That's why Stacey said that. I'm a jab you where it hurts. You coming at me crazy, I'm going to come back at you where I feel like it's a sensitive area for you. So that's why she said it. So Stacey said, Kay said, "I don't want that ring. It's cloudy." Kendrick, shout out to my boo Kendrick from I Cannot Podcast. Make sure you check him out. I Cannot, Ken, not podcast. Posted a picture of Jazzy. He said, shout out to Jazzy because when Kay said that ring is cloudy, go back and watch. You can see Jazzy trying to check out the ring on Stacey's finger, like to see. So that was funny. So they're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Wendy gets in the middle of them dancing to kind of try to throw it off. Stacey then, so Stacey says, go run after Greg, go run after Greg. And then Kay brings up TJ, girl, and calls her a tired a-ho. Like, Girl from Detroit. I know one when I see one. Well, I mean, she does get around. She's been to Europe City, so she can probably point one out. I ain't gonna take it from her. Anyway, Stacy then says, "Congratulations to Giselle. I'm happy for you." And then she says she's leaving. So, and she goes, is walking, goes to the elevator. So Jassy goes to Stacy and is like, "Why are you leaving?" Stacy said, "Open your eyes. They don't want me here." I congratulated her. Now Giselle follows her, right? And is hitting the elevator button to kick her out. I loved what Jazzy did here. And this to me is like Jazzy is valuable. She's an asset because Giselle has been saying all this stuff about Stacy. Stacy, that you can't stand Stacy. For what reason? Because Mia was a liar too. Let's be clear. Well, y'all say Stacy lies, Mia lies. Mia's first or second season, when Mia was having a beef with Candace, you just love Mia and said in your confessional, we all know Mia lies. We love it. But now Stacy's lying and it's a problem. When we know Mia be lying and you said y'all loved it. So I love when Jazzy says to Giselle, "You don't like Stacy either?" I said, "Ask the question, Jazzy." Giselle then says, "I don't like what I've heard, so I've got to marinate on it. Not investigate if it's the truth, not get to know Stacy for myself, marinate on it." Oh, okay. Angel then goes and tells Bobby, "I told you I would say something to Wendy." And she was nasty and dismissive. I said, girl. Anyway, some of the ladies take a shot, and then Wendy looks at Eddie and says, "Come on, baby, time to go, time to get the hell up out of here." I said, okay. I feel like Giselle set that whole thing up with having Cookie come. Why would you want to mess up your own event? That's just what I don't get. I know you want to make good TV and all that, and y'all want to bring Stacey down, but why mess up your 10 million event? I feel like she kind of didn't take the event seriously anyway because Robin wasn't there, but it was just something to do for the show. That's what I think. Ashley and her mom and her kids. That's the only thing my notes say. Same thing. Ashley don't want her mom to be with this man because this man ain't doing what he's supposed to do. Ashley's mom is having health problems, and she tells her mom, "You're my heart. Outside of my kids, you're the most important thing to me. I can't lose you." Same thing Ashley's been saying for the last couple of years with her mom. Now we're at Jassy's house. Wendy and Stacy are there. Wendy arrives first. Darius is in there fixing food. I said, I've noticed lately that the men on these shows will be the one fixing the food for the ladies to come over. So Wendy's like, "Hey, bro, what you doing here?" He's like, "Making sure you ladies eat," or whatever. It's a cute little scene. So Jazzy said, "I brought out the good stuff. I guess the wine." And Wendy's like, "Stacy is really going to need it." So Jazzy said in her confessional, at the end of the day, she wants Stacy to know she misses her and she's grateful she came to the wedding. Oh, no, she said that in the scene. In her confessional, Jazzy says, "I'm always banking on the beautiful side that I've gotten to see from Stacy." Basically, she's innocent until proven guilty. Child, Jazzy is looking like she's in bridal wear. Girl. Okay. So then Stacy arrives and she was like, "Can we talk about what happened after I left?" Wendy said, "Can we talk about what happened while you were there?" In the meantime, Angel plans a mean girl get together with the rest of the ladies outside of Wendy, Stacy, and Jazzy. It's clearly a bash Stacy session. Okay. Angel lets them know she found a house that's moving ready in Potomac. Giselle says one thing Stacy's going to do is bring them together. We trauma bond over Stacy. So when we get together and trash her, it's a kiki. That is so corny. So like, move on. Like, that's not even like, what? Trashing Stacy for what? Lying about TJ? Y'all swear she lying about Chris. One of the things y'all swearing she lied about Chris. Chris confirmed it wasn't true. Like, okay, the edible line. That was between her. I mean, yeah, she lied, but her and Wendy pieced it up. So why are you? Now I can understand if you be like, "Look, Stacey has done some lies. She has lied. I don't know if I can fully trust her, but what have you, right?" I just feel like they're giving this a whole lot of energy when they didn't have that energy for Mia or Giselle. But anyway, because we know Giselle hasn't always been truthful. She said it herself. Anyway, so Giselle said that Stacey's the kind of woman who cannot be trusted. Tia is like, yeah, she's made this web up that we're all in right now. What do y'all think about Tia? Because I've seen people say Tia has become Giselle's minion. Tia doesn't have a right to be minion. Tia doesn't have a right to be mad at Stacey. I can see if she's like, girl, you invited me to meet Timo, said that, didn't like either Timo said he was leaving that same day and say he couldn't make dinner with them, or he was leaving the next day and Stacy lied. And then it came out that she lied. I can understand Tia being upset, but to this level, but maybe she's looking at it like you lied to me. I'm hearing you lied about all these other things. It's just irritating to me that they're stuck on this Chris thing when they, let's be honest. Some of the lies, yes, they prove it, but some of them they haven't. Do we all think that Stacey hired TJ? Yes. Have they concretely proven it? No. They wanted us to believe paperwork on their phone, but didn't want to believe Stacey's divorce decree that was on her phone, right? Well, Giselle didn't. You haven't concretely proved anything about Stacey and Chris. You did have Chris say Stacey didn't call him. I don't understand the problem. Stacey's handling them. She handling them hoes. Anyway, so wait, so then we get back to Jazzy's house. Stacey said, I don't know why Kay was screaming at me about something that she heard from somebody else. And I wasn't given the opportunity to explain myself. Um, Stacey said, when it comes to Kay, she pipes up when it comes to me. Like, you know what I mean? When it comes to me. Like, but that's it. Pretty much she's saying she ain't got nothing else to say unless it has something to do with me. Back at Angel's house, Giselle is imitating Kay and how she was yelling. Yeah, girl, you was just yelling. Kay acts like, oh, something about her just sends me. Girl. So then back at Jazzy's house, because they were doing a back and forth, Stacey said, do you think that Kay tries to have moments with me? And I felt like that was kind of like a show thing. Like, in other words, Stacey is saying, do you think she's trying to have a moment with me, like for the show, because she's so boring or doesn't have anything by herself? Wendy said, I think you're her favorite toy in the toy box. Child, we back at Angels. Giselle says, what bothers me is that y'all don't know Monique when she was with her husband. So to see her sit down and talk about her divorce and be vulnerable, it was refreshing to hear her story. For somebody to get up off that table and call her ex-husband is disgusting. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I guess not anymore if this was the case, even though Chris said it didn't happen, not any more disgusting than plotting on bringing up the paternity of her child. Okay. All right. See, because we're not going to rewrite history. Whew, child. Anyway, Tia says, does Monique know any of this? Here go Ashley, because now it's her turn to speak. No, and I feel like it would be nice if we could have a sit down, like Stacey and Monique. She said, we tried it at the party, but Cookie got froggy and didn't work. So then Giselle gets up and tries to imitate her. So I know they're tearing you up, Cookie. They tearing your arse up. Even Jamie from Love and Marriage DC has come out. Basically, they calling you a gutter snipe, Cookie. Anyway, I also do believe that Cookie coming was a setup to cause the chaos. But again, I don't think Giselle really cared about the 10 million download party because Robin wasn't there. And I don't think she considered it like the real celebration. It was something for the show. It was convenient, right? But it looked like it was pretty and it could have been, really nice or whatever. So Ashley says, Kay, it would be nice if you were open to come and sit down with Stacey also. The way Ashley did, I seen somebody tweet this. Monique really needs to look at Ashley being her friend because Ashley is constantly trying to re-trigger Monique with all this. And I said, this is when it becomes a dangerous space. This woman has come on. We know the history she's been through on the show. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I do believe from what I'm seeing, right? I said I was going to be open. I was always very honest and upfront with y'all with how I felt about Monique and how she was never my favorite person pre-Candace. Never. I've never really, there was like a little bit of time that I saw it for her, but like it was brief, right? I will say I'm feeling like we're getting an authentic Monique this season. I do feel like if she's going to go around and do apologies, I would like to think that in her mind, she can't think she resolved everything because you haven't talked to Candace. You haven't apologized to her. But anyway, I do feel like what we're getting from Monique is authentic. and that she's really trying. So for Ashley to continue to bring up the Chris and Stacey thing to try to trigger Monique into a reaction is wild for a TV show is wild to me. But Monique isn't falling for the bait, so good on you, Monique. Monique has made it very clear. I want no parts. Hey, I hope Stacey likes kids. That's it. But Monique is continuously trying to trigger a reaction out of her. I mean, but Ashley is continuously trying to trigger a reaction out of Monique. Anyway, back at Jazzy, Stacey said, I don't know what else to do at this point. So Wendy said, I would love for you to meet with Monique. She said, I will, but I don't want. Oh, Wendy said, if Monique is okay and doesn't have an issue with this and y'all can move past it, and can move past it, why can't the other ladies do the same? Stacey said, I'm open to that, but I have no desire to meet with Kay because I don't feel comfortable with her. Wendy says, okay, sounds good. I'll set it up. Stacey says she's had enough. Child, we're at Greg's house with Kiana and her mom. Check this out. Basically, she lets them know Greg wants to buy the condo. Mama is like, so he pretty much trying to buy a condo to stall off the ring. Kay's trying to convince her mom, you love Greg. Her mom is like, her brother's like, I'm trying to trust you in your judgment. That's it. Moving on. Wendy's house. Child, this scene had my butt cheeks. The end of the scene had my butt cheeks like a brick. They were so clenched, like a nervous clench. So Wendy's sister Ivy comes over, and they go out on her deck and they talk about, Wendy and her family, her sister's family, and her mom went to Nigeria for over a month. I didn't realize they were there that long. I remember seeing the pictures of them. She said her dad said he felt ill and couldn't make it. She was in Nigeria for a month, haven't seen her dad in over 20 years, and all of a sudden he couldn't make it. Wendy said I don't know why he doesn't want me. And her sister said it's not that he doesn't want you, but he's learned to live his life without them in it. I said, wow. Yeah, he's adjusted. So Wendy's mom comes and Wendy talks to her mom about it and the feeling she has. Like Wendy's carrying the burden of what did I do to make him not want me? And they're letting her know you did nothing. So Wendy's mom said he's miserable. And Ivy goes to chime in. Wendy's mom said, hold on. I said, okay. So Wendy's mom said, your father can have 200 children if he wants, but he can only have one Wendy. And her sister agrees. And I was like, she needs to understand it's not you, Wendy, it's him. So Wendy says, it's fair to say that there's tension there with her mom and her dad. She said this in her confessional because her mom is very protective. And her mom hates the fact that Wendy opened up herself and he disappointed her again. So back in the scene, Wendy's mom said, he feels like he's the odd man out. You guys are successful. You're doing so well. God bless you. Look at how you're taking care of me. I'm the one enjoying your money. Then they flash back to last season. Wendy's mom wanted her $500 allowance. Then she says to Ivy, I'm enjoying your money. I said, how much is Ivy paying? I want to know. And then she says, look at my bag. She wanted to show her designer bag as she walked in. So Wendy's mom is like, so Wendy's like, speaking of enjoying the money, we're getting, and so they walk into the construction area. Wendy's mom is like, what am I walking into? So she talks about the construction. We see a chandelier. Wendy asked the designer, is that the one I ordered? She said, yep. She's kind of like, Her mom said, get two if the budget allows. I said, oh, I feel like I'm sitting on a brick. Wendy La. Okay. Kay, Ashley, Monique, and Stacey are going to meet up at this restaurant. Stacey and Ashley get there first. They bring up what they're going to talk about. Ashley says, I don't know if Monique is going to check her or not, talking about Stacey. I said, see, you trying to. Monique is not on that type of time. She really doesn't want to be on that type of time anymore. And here you go. Monique arrives. In her confessional, she said, I don't know what I'm walking into. But basically, history has shown that it's going to be a mess. And I'm going to read y'all what my notes say. Okay. I'm going to be transparent. I told you I'm going to try to keep it honest. My notes say, y'all know I say I can't believe I put this in my notes. Y'all know I say all the time, I've never been the biggest fan of Monique, but I'm with her on this. And also, again, why are they trying to provoke a response with her? Don't say I don't give y'all. Kay says, I want to say this to you, to Monique. You were the topic of discussion at Giselle's party. So Monique was like, I don't even know what's going on. She said the first thing that comes to my mind is when Tia asked me what was the moment that I knew I was done with Chris. Kay tells Monique, basically you shared it, and then Stacy, you shared it. I was talking to Cookie. Cookie said Chris called her saying Stacy called him and saying that you kicked his back in. I said, Monique, I know Monique sees the play that they're trying to run. Because Ashley goes, and you were so vulnerable and open, and then to violate that trust with us. I said, Monique, please see the play they're trying to run. So then Monique said, the first thing that's going through my mind, I don't even know what the truth is. I said, come on, Monique, clock them in that moment. Don't, I'm glad that you just not, they thought that you were just going to hop on their side. So she says, because you're dealing with people who twisted the truth. Stacey could have very well called her and she could have said exactly what was said. And then you add Cookie into it with her lying ass. I said, come on, Monique. The whole story could be all mixed up. I said they were not expecting her to say that. You could see that by the looks on their face. Kay had that same dumb look as when she tried to, at the Pride parade, when she tried to say she thought Stacey and Monique would know each other because of Chris, and they were both like, huh? Yeah, Kay had that same stupid look. So in her confessional, Monique said, I could care less. Stacey, so she said, listen, co-parenting has already not been good, basically. She ain't really trying to get involved in this mess. Wendy arrived. So Monique asked, wait. Oh, so Monique said, look, Stacy's adamant that she didn't call Chris. Wendy said, we're gonna let her speak for herself because I told her that I'm sorry. Wendy said I met with Stacy. She's adamant that she didn't call Chris, but I want to let her speak for herself and her to talk to you so y'all can have a conversation. I said, I know that's right. Stacy said, oh, and then one of them said, well, when Sharice was on the phone with him, Monique said Sharice, Ashley said she wanted to call Chris. Wendy is the only one that said, yeah, Sharice called Chris and asked him if Stacy called him, and he said no. Why Kay and Ashley ain't tell Monique that? I'm so glad Wendy was there and Wendy said that. So she said, listen, when I talked to Stacy, she mentioned that she's willing to have a conversation with you. However, she does not want to have a conversation with Kiana. Here's Kiana. I feel the same way. I felt like, then why are you here? Because you knew Stacy was coming to talk to Monique, not for y'all to get anything squared away. So why are you here? We know it's the show. I'm being facetious when I'm saying, why are you here? But why are you here? So Wendy said, she said she doesn't feel safe or comfortable around you. Kay said, I have zero interest in a fake fraud AB. I said, these faces that Stacey is making, I mean, Kay is making, Kay, come, please don't do this, Kay. Like, I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you, Kay. I mean, I'm still rooting for you, but Kay. So Stacey came in. I loved that Monique got up and hugged her and said, we come in peace. I said, come on, Monique, why are you doing this to me? Cheering you on. But because I'm gonna be fair, and when I feel, I'm not gonna not call out what I think is authentic, and I think Monique was very authentic in saying we come in peace. She said, "I'm glad that you came. I spoke to the ladies. Wait, one of them said, or Wendy said, I'm glad you came. I spoke to the ladies, informed them of the conditions that you wanted to speak with Monique, and you did say you did not want to have a conversation with Kay or Ashley." Stacey says, "I would to Monique. I would like to sit with you. I want to make sure you have all the information. I don't want to do the back and forth." Kay says, I'll get up and goes to the bar. I wish Stacey had been like, Ashley, because she didn't want to have a conversation with Kay or Ashley. But of course, Ashley sat there because, you know. So let's go. Monique said, I just want to know what happened. I didn't know that you were still in contact with Chris, and I don't associate with people who are still in association with my ex-husband. Stacey said, I never dated Chris. Ashley says that's not the word on the curb. My notes say the word on the curb is also that your husband likes to touch people's bodies without their permission. Is that true? The word on the curb is that your husband is into a lot of things that you said he's not into. Is that true? There's a lot of words on the curb. Oh, I just want to. In her confessional, Monique said, I don't care if she dated him. I've been there, done that, and I've moved on. Old Monique would have basically went off on him, but she makes like a noise. She said, but that's not who I am anymore. She said, and people who lie can't keep the lie going. So go ahead and get your popcorn ready and we'll see what happens. In other words, people can't keep up a lie. So if she's lying, it's going to come out. Stacey starts to show the text thread of her and Chris and how she hadn't been responding. And the messages were from June 1st. Monique said, that was before I even met you. And Stacey's like, yeah. Ashley's making faces. In the meantime, I'm going to say this. Yes, you can delete messages, but reading Chris's messages, it sounds like Stacey wasn't getting back to him. Stacey said that Chris, when he got Arabella and Stacey were on the cover of a Potomac lifestyle or something magazine, Chris sent a text about it when he got his. Then he said a thank you would be appropriate, like an appropriate response. And then, hey, hit me up. I heard my name has been coming up in filming. So clearly she wasn't responding to him. Because why would he keep saying that? Like, hit me up. Hey, a thank you would be appropriate if she had been in communication with him. So, Monique, and even if they were to be like, because I could see them saying, how do you know she wasn't showing you a different phone number? I mean, like fake text messages. They could have looked at the phone number and verified that it was Chris's. Right. Anyway, because then Ashley says, but you had his number. Okay. And she had his phone number and she ain't talked to him since June. And like and again, Chris himself has said, whether he was lying or not, we don't know, but he has said, I don't know what you're talking about when Sharice called him to see if Stacey called him. So if you're not gonna believe Chris, the person that supposedly got the call, and you're not gonna believe Stacey, the person that supposedly made the call, who are you believing? Y'all, because it fits your narrative? Try to get me hot, because it's so stupid. In her confessional, Ashley is trying to make it seem like Stacey's lying about the text messages. Girl, you in this bang, go ahead. So Wendy said, Chris knew about the situations and conversations about him. That means somebody is leaking it, somebody in this group. So Wendy said, I don't think it's anyone at the table, meaning Stacey, Monique, Ashley, or her. She said, I'll just leave it here. Ashley says, who could have been this somebody who had a connection to Chris? In her confessional, Wendy said, I'm going to put my detective wig on and narrow down the suspect. Prime suspect is Kay. Why are you even taking calls from Cookie? I said, that's true. I agree with that. Because both Kay and Cookie don't like Stacey. She said suspect number two is Angel's husband, Bobby, because him and Chris know each other. Maybe Angel told Bobby, Bobby ran back and told Chris. I don't think that's it. She said, and then there's Giselle. We know Giselle loves mess and she's been cozy with Cookie ever since Karen went to jail. And of course, we can't rule out Stacey. Child, Wendy says she's lied in the past, she's lied in the present, and she probably gonna lie in the future. Whoever it is, you can run, but you can't hide. Ashley then goes to check on Kay. Y'all, was Kay at the bar crying or was she just wiping her eye? Because she was like dabbing. And I was like, is she crying? Or maybe she just got something in her eye and was wiping or checking her makeup. I don't know. I said, I know she ain't at the bar crying. I also feel like, will Cookie be involved in this? With Cookie being involved, remember, Karen and Stacey had a falling out last year. Is Cookie doing a little bit of Karen's dirty work? Anyway, Stacey tells Monique, I would like to have a relationship and I just hope that you find it in your heart to allow us to get to know each other. In the meantime, Ashley is asking Kay if she's okay. Kay says, I'm totally okay, but I'm not going to live off of other people's experiences. I'm sorry. She says, I'm totally okay. Back at the table, um, Monique tells Stacey, I'm not a person who lives off of other people's experiences. I just wanted to know what happened and hear your side of it. Let's just be 100. I'm fine with it. I'm not here to start an argument or more. My concern is the fact, what'd she say? My concern is this is what she said. She said, this is my concern. I want you to be careful with that whole situation. And it looked like she was kind of pointing to Stacey's phone. I want you to be careful with that whole situation because here's the thing. I know how messy he is and he's pulling you right into the mess. I divorced him for a reason. There's a lot of things people don't know, which is why I said be very careful. I wonder if she was talking about Chris and almost about the show. Be careful with all of this. Child, I guess we shall see. I'm over them. If y'all want to be on Stacey, find something else. The Stacey and Chris thing is so it's tiresome when Chris himself is like, whatever. Didn't you brought Sharice on to call? I just to call Chris. It's so juvenile. Can we get to some other stuff? Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all thought. I enjoyed the episode. I'm having a kiki with Potomac. I really, really am. And it's nice to feel like I'm having a kiki with Potomac after so many years when we were not kikiing with Potomac. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the Wendy and Angel of it all, the Kay and Stacey of it all, Stacey and Monique of it all. And for those of you that were not fans of Monique, how are you feeling about her return now that we've seen her in a couple of episodes? Do y'all feel like she's authentic? Like I will say that I do. People may find that surprising. I will, like I said, I know that she's going to have a talk with Giselle next week, and I still feel like in the clip we saw her say this is the final puzzle piece. If that's what she said, because we know how editing can work, I don't agree with that because I think Candace would be the final piece. It would be, and I think Candace would be open to it based on her podcast. Now we know Candace is gonna go for the jugular, but which, hey, again, if somebody come for me, listen. You can't dictate how somebody's going to respond to you and how they're still going to feel years later. But Candace said, I heard that she did some apologies. She said, but not to me. She has my number or she can get my number. That to me says Candace is open to a conversation. And Candace's anger is a mask for her being still hurt. I believe they were good friends. I believe Candace cared for her. And I do believe Monique cared for her. But then when she saw the opportunity on the show to jump sides, she did. But I do believe that there was once upon a time a love there between them. And I do think Candace would be open to a conversation based on her saying that recently on her podcast. So I guess we'll see. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all things Potomac. I love y'all. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching, make sure you're subscribed, turn your notifications on. Hype it if you want. Is hype, are they still hyping? If so, I would appreciate it. If you want, I know they only give 3 hypes a week. But also go follow the podcast on wherever it is you listen to your podcast and follow me on social media. I do a lot on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads at We Go Podcast. I'm on TikTok at We Go Podcast 1. I'm gonna get to it. If you're listening to the podcast, please come over to YouTube, type in We Go Podcast. For those of you that are new here, We Go stands for What Else Is Going On Podcast. I got it from Cynthia Bailey. When Cynthia was kind of either like caught in something or somebody was trying to get Cynthia to tell the truth about something and she was done talking about it, she would say, now what else is going on? So for me, I took that like, yeah, what else is going on, in these pop culture streets. So if you're listening, go to YouTube, type in We Go Podcast and subscribe to the podcast there. I love y'all. Thank y'all for rocking with me. I'll talk to you later. See ya.